Start streaming. Okay. Let's see what we'll do now. And then I click um, refresh.
Oh, I see alive.
We are live? I think we're
I think
live.
we are live.
I think we are live now. Okay, awesome. You just gotta
Perfect.
tell me how the sound is.
Okay, 1 second.
We are live now. Okay, awesome.
Okay, I hear stuff,
Yeah, just gotta tell me the level.
but I'm very soft.
I need to turn you up?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
But I'm putting my mic close to my mouth.
Okay,
And
I've turned you up now, so we just gotta wait because there's a little bit of delay, maybe.
but I'm very soft. Okay, now I think I'm okay.
You're okay?
Uh,
Awesome.
but I'm putting
So
my
I'll
mic
just we'll
close to
just wait a few minutes for them to
turn you
like
up
figure
now.
out the links.
Perfect.
All right. We'll just give it a few minutes.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Now it's so I guess we start in like 10
Yeah.
seconds or so the
Just
worst the worst NPA
bro,
draft stream.
we're already arrived. We're already live, bro.
Ah, true. Yeah, whatever.
Nah, this
Okay.
will be the best recap NPA has ever seen.
True, true. Okay.
It's not even gonna be close. I'll just wait to see if there's someone shows up. If I see someone show up, that's good enough for me.
Well, I see a few people in chat. Um,
Let me open the stream
five watching
myself as
now.
well.
5 watching now.
All
I
right.
see.
Yes, I see.
Beautiful. Okay.
All right. Welcome everyone. As you can see and hear, well, you can't see, but as you can hear, no Kunal this week. He is busy or on a holiday. So I'm Sven. I'm taking it over. I was here on week one or week two recap, and I'm joined today by Helios, one of the sort of managers of the Blizzards.
Yeah, I'm basically a washed up manager, which is why I am not officially listed, but yeah, I still am helping them out a little bit.
Yeah. So we're just gonna roll about this. We have not prepared this at all, but we just want to bring you some sort of content, even though how shit it is. It doesn't matter. So just gonna take a look at the standings first. Not that many big changes, I believe. The Birds are still first place with
Blizzards are still at the bottom
rollouts.
as per usual.
Blizzards are still at the bottom. Cruisers got their first loss, and therefore only Birds and rollouts are the only two undefeated teams left. S- Um, well, Blizzards did take their first point this week, and the Trailblazers got their first win. What do you think about this week, Helios?
Mm, I think the Trailblazers, from what I saw from their matches, they actually took quite a dominant win over the Pixies, which is not, which although it was something that I did expect for the Trailblazers to win, I did not expect the level of dominance they had over the Pixies in their victory. Um, Apart from that, some other interesting highlights. I think I did not expect Cruisers to lose to the Birds. Um, I think that one is quite. I think that one is quite interesting. And also the Samurais, the puppies. I think the puppies tying the blades is also probably something that we can look at because I do remember thinking that that was quite an even matchup and potentially could go either way, but it did turn up as a tie in the end.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot of close matches, a lot of good matches as well, as we saw from like last week's preview. Um, I think though, regardless if you're Birds or Blizzards, I don't think any team should be worried yet in the case of, oh, we're lost now, so we're probably not making playoffs. And that's basically just because the point system got changed this season. So last season we had 5 points for a win, 2 points for a tie, and then 0 points for a loss. But this season it has been changed, so now you get 2 points for a win and 1 point for a tie. So that basically means tying is technically better than before because you gain
Yeah,
50% of the points instead of 40. So you can see that quite a lot of people have tied so far, and therefore the difference between the first and last place is only basically 2 wins. So even if you're Blizzards and you're lost, I still wouldn't be too worried about not being able to make playoffs anymore. Because I think realistically, if you win the rest, you're still easily in playoffs. And same as the Birds, I wouldn't be too confident or the rollouts that you're already locked in for playoffs. Because if you don't get many more points, I don't think you're ever making playoffs with like 8 points. I think you. My estimation is that you will need at least like 5 wins. So I think 10 points is maybe the threshold for playoffs. I don't know what you think about it.
I would. We actually did a. I think last year the threshold was basically the equivalent of 4 wins and one tie. I mean, of
Hmm.
course, the point system is slightly different, but I do. If I remember correctly, it was something around that level of 4 wins and one tie
Yeah, I do
last year.
remember. Yeah, if we had last year's point systems, for the ones who didn't know, last season I think it was one of the first instances, at least that I know, where a team got out not based on points but on differential. And that was actually my team, the Cruisers, last season. We ended fifth place and we tied points with the Samurais. So I think it went to differential or match one. I don't exactly know, but we were out. But if we actually had this point system, we would have had the fourth place spot and Samurais would have been out. So I'm interested to see after this season is over if you do those calculations if there's going to be any differences like last season. But with that being said, I think that's enough for the standings and we can just move on. And honestly, to have a little recap of last week, a little bit more in detail. So yeah, as we just talked about, Trailblazers beating Pixies quite convincingly. I think if you're looking at the matchups, Helios, do you think there's any noticeable upsets or results you were surprised about?
Mm, I think. I think there were. I think a lot of some of these matches did go the way that I would have expected. I think the one that I I did highlight this when I was on Kunal's stream last week that I thought the highlight of the week was Kyogre SG versus Darts, and that
Hmm.
produced a very good match actually. I I think I remember Darts making very good adaptations in some of these games, but Kyogre SG made a really hard prediction that ultimately instantly won the game in Game Three and made it very difficult for Darts to come back. Mm, Apart from that, there are some interesting things you can take a look. You can definitely see from this week as well. This was Faisa's first week playing. Um, it was mentioned in his sign up that he would be a very busy man, and he would probably be playing for very few weeks. So it's good to see that he was able to find some time to play this week, and he took a win over Chosen Future. I
Yeah,
think
I
another
no, go
yeah,
ahead.
I think another match that I thought was a really good match from this week was Pasteur versus Aura Rayquaza. If you watch the game three, I think Pasteur actually put Terran in the spots where Terran had to make really hard predictions to actually win the game. And I mean, turn one he did get a crit, so that made it a lot easier for him to win.
Just going through the
But yeah,
turns now on fast
there
mode.
were some really good turns in this game.
Just put it in hyper fast, see if there's like anything that stands out if we're just watching it back, because otherwise it's gonna take too long. Yeah, I think they're like
Yeah,
the double up calling the Gengar Protect, and then the Charizard living the Blizzard actually. I think, yeah, if you it's probably Scarfjump, yeah. Honestly, very close, even though I think, especially without a crit, I think it's a different game and Passer might be on the winning end of this one, but honestly, who knows?
yeah. That team specifically the Whimsicott team, it tends to struggle a little bit with parish teams. So actually, it taking a win there is really good for him.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with this specific version is that you don't have your own King Gambit, so you don't have like a Mon that threatens Instinct Gengar at the same time, because you kind of don't want to give the Gambit a +1. Um,
Yeah,
and you can't also really hit it, so it's a bit of a pain to get out of the field, especially at especially versus this set, because it's still double attack, so all your other mons can still get target easily. Where you see, I think the most common Gengar set at the moment is like protect, Perish Song, and then either Sludge Bomb or Shadow Ball, and then disable, or they don't run Perish Song and just run disable. So I
Yeah,
think if there was a gambit on Terran's end, I think this could have been made it a lot easier for him.
yeah, for sure.
And then coming back on Faiz, as you said, yeah, I mean Faiz, I think he went for 3K. I mean we can look it back. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he
went
did.
for 3K, and if you wouldn't know his availability, that would be like the biggest underpay of the draft, because Faiz is an amazing player, and I think if he's available, I think he would go for like my estimations like between 15 and 20K is where I probably guess he'd end up.
Yeah, I think
S-
that's a fair place to put him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you can get him for 3K, even if he can play 2 or 3 weeks, and if he can win all of those, I think that's amazing value for a 3K. So interested to see how that's going to turn out in the long run and how many weeks he's actually able to play. But for the rest, I agree with you. I don't think there were that many upsets in this week. But then if we go look to the next week, I think despite what you would have estimated for the score to be between birds or cruisers, I think on an individual level, there were quite a few upsets here. Starting with Jamodri, with Kunki being Jamodri 2-0 with a Camerupt team. Apparently Camerupt can take a win sometimes. But yeah, I was watching it, of course, because I'm I'm on the cruisers as a manager, but like it was quite a convincing win. I think the matchup was very, very good for Kuhn. Yeah, I don't think there was much Jamori was able to do here.
It does help that you had protect on this camera.
Yes, it's what I've been saying. I think if you don't run protect on a camera up, I think you're absolutely trolling. But hey, you can disagree with me. Everyone to their own takes. Looking to the rest of the weeks, talking about upset, I think another one is I don't think many people would have predicted Pipa to beat Axior. And it was also in honestly quite a convincing fashion. So Axio actually having a rough start of the season, being 0-2 so far, but he just won the latest regional championships in Utrecht. So I don't think anyone will ever doubt the ability of Axior to take wins away in a tournament like this.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think a lot of the skills that you is required for playing well in a draft league is not exactly the same as the skills that you need to win a tournament. So I realized because you are only playing a single best of three, um, actually playing a lot of players that have streaky play styles. For example, players who make really hard predictions. I think they tend to do very well in draft leagues. And in comparison to potentially some of their IRL results. So I think Axier is one of these players who tend to play. Although he is definitely capable of making some of these really hard reads, I think his play style can be exploited at times. And I think in this specific week, his team choice might have. I did not think that his team choice was the best one. I look at Floette and Sylveon together, and something instantly tells me there's something wrong with that team. Uh, it, I'm not sure what it is, but something tells me that it shouldn't be the case. But look, I think it is a team that definitely could perform well against other variants. For example, I think it probably has a better matchup against Rain. Um, but the opponent did bring up Sneasler, which definitely is a big problem for the team, and ultimately came away with a win here.
Yeah, and I think the last upset, although arguably the least ones, the smallest upset, I think you could say is Kakunaka beating Polar Bear Geo 2-0. Um, yeah, I think Geo was just rocking his Venu team. I think with his Mega Venus or Mega Zard. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, honestly it was a close match. Both matches were quite close, but it went the way of Kakunaka this time. And I think, is there any notable match or something you want to highlight from this week?
Um, when I was looking at some of these, when I was looking at some of these games, I think another game that I would personally consider an upset would be Trier and Blaze, because I do rate Trier as a very, very highly, and I did not expect him to lose this one.
Yeah, Trier was on our team as well last season, and I think he finished like X1 or X2, so very good record. I think the a bigger factor here was like if I'm honestly looking at the matchup in general for the team that Trier used was the was I believe some sort of variant of like the older rain teams you've seen, but instead of like a Sableye, there's a Pelipper on there now. But those teams do tend to struggle, especially against Hill and Parrish both. And this was kind of a combination because you don't have a King Gambit yourself to like get away from like the insane Gengar lead. But also I think generally
Yeah,
Hill is tough because both of your Megas and your Mons that you probably want to bring usually in a team like this, they are both very like both weak to ice. So I think the matchup wasn't ideal, but he was still able to win a game and bring it relatively close. But yeah, on coming out on the losing end. One thing I do now I actually look at it, there were a lot of 2-0s. Only two matches went to game three.
yeah. I think a lot of them were because of the matchup. For example, I did think, although Gio did bring it close, I did think that Kakunaka had a very good matchup into his team. I'm not sure if it. I don't remember if it was a Mega Dragonite or it was a normal Dragonite, but I think both versions do fare well into Gio's team.
Yeah,
Mm,
it was
I
a Mega
think,
Dragon Knight with like it was a set that I think Kyogre SG used last week. It had like Tailwind, Thunderbolt, Ice Beam plus one. I don't remember the last move, so might have been Zero
no.
Step or might have been like a Dragon move. I don't fully remember anymore.
Yeah, no, that's really rough for Gio's team.
Hmm.
Uh, I think also the matchup of Giso against Uncle Lu, it also is a little one-sided in terms of the Trick Room being able to beat the other team. I think, in my opinion, the closest one in terms of matchup, it would actually be Finnerbars versus Darkrow,
I
that
agree, yeah.
which Finnerbars did win. So that's probably the closest in terms of like
Hmm.
a raw matchup,
Yeah.
50-50.
This was a match though, because if we're just looking really quick at how this game turned out at some point, we're here in a scenario where it's just sucker punch mind games for like a few turns, like sucker punch who you're gonna hit when you're gonna sucker punch protect. So it's like Firabas came
Brilliant.
here out on the winning end, but as a manager watching this, you'll lose some years of your life. But it was a funny
Yeah,
match.
I do think that did happen for another match, but I don't remember specifically which one. I think it was
Y-
Chosen Future versus
Yeah,
Vice.
Vice, yes, yes. I
Yeah,
think it was also
the
the case
game
there.
two. Yeah,
But I
that
think
did happen as
that's
well.
yeah, I think that's enough between Blizzard and Birds. We move on to our
Yeah.
first tie of the week here between the Blizzards and the Rollouts. If I'm
Yeah.
just looking at scanning the matchups real quick, are there any results that kind of caught my eye? I think honestly the biggest upset here would definitely be Dominic X beating Agadi here, which I think is a big upset. But besides that, I think the matches were relatively close. But as of someone who's part of the Blizzards, I'm sure you can tell us more about this week, Helios.
Well, I will be the first one to admit that I did not watch every single match. So, I was asleep when Dominic X and versus Agadi and Sohaib versus Gramgus played out. So I do not have full knowledge of how those matchups actually went. From what I do understand, it does seem like some of these matches went very close. Uh, and I think a few highlights that I would like to highlight. I think MoMA played a really difficult matchup and actually beat Super Santi, so that was a really good win for I think team morale in general. And I mean, well, you also, if you look at the next match, you will see a very interesting one there.
Infernape.
Yes.
I
Well,
mean, it's
if
John
there's
Yu
any,
playing.
he played against Mega Umbreon. Uh, I think one of the rules that you generally do with John Hu is you just let him do his thing. He will win games, and he will take some potentially some really important victories for your team. So yeah, just let him do his own thing.
Yeah,
Mm,
and I think if you're playing against John, I think I would just say don't expect anything standard. Don't prep for whatever he's gonna bring because it's impossible to figure out. Just play something you feel comfortable with yourself, and that's generally doesn't like lose fast versus like niche teams. But yeah, he's probably one of the hardest players in NPA to prep against.
100%. I think another few matches that did happen. I think if I'm if I remember correctly, I remember being quite frustrated during the Ichak game versus what's his name again, Dawe, because
Hmm.
I remember that there was a few scenarios that I think there were a lot of low percentage scenarios that could go wrong that ended up going wrong, or rather, every single one of them did end up going wrong, which is why I was quite which is why I did think that Ichak potentially could have won his game if some of those events went the other way, but ultimately it's not something we really can control, right?
Hmm.
Pokemon is Pokemon,
Yeah,
and
I just
some
realized
of
there's
these
a
things happen.
Toxapex since I mean, and we saw a Toxapex recently still on the stream in like I think it was LA on like the Terrapagos team, but I did not expect to see a
Yeah.
Toxapex being played in regulation MA. But I guess Toxapex has a 100% win rate, so maybe more people should use it.
Yes,
Hmm.
perhaps.
Yeah.
Well, please, please, please use Toxapex against us. That would be great.
Yeah. I, I I honestly
Yeah.
think that's. Do you have anything else to say about this week, or should we move on?
I think in general, I think in terms of where we are as Blizzards, I think the team is gradually improving, which is good. But we do need to improve and win some of these more must-win matchups. So that's probably one thing that we need to think about in terms of how we can improve that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's then
that should be all.
something we can see how when we look at week four how that's gonna round out.
Yeah, for sure.
Looking at the max matchup, another tie between the Puppies and the Blades. I think this was a very close week. I think they had two games being played on Monday still, and I believe the score was 3-3 then, so the last two matches were always going to be important. I think
Yeah,
looking at the matchups here, um, yeah, I think there weren't any big upsets. Maybe WBVG beating Nails, but besides that, I mean, you could say Mirai versus Fede Campo, but personally, I rate Mirai pretty highly. He's a good friend of mine, and as you can see, he had a pretty dominant victory versus Fede Campo. I think
yeah.
especially
That,
the this
the game
second
two
game.
was a turn one forfeit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we just see a Garchomp Whimsicott being led from Fede and Dragon Knight Garchomp from Carlos. And he's just gonna Mega the Dragon Knight. It's Tailwind, it's a Dragon Claw, and then we just see I think it's just yeah, Tailwind and a Poison Jab
poison jab comes out and instant
and
forfeit.
an instant forfeit. So this is definitely the fastest game we've seen MPA and probably well unless we're gonna see someone forfeit on team preview, I don't think any game will get shorter than this one.
Yeah. Well, I think it does show a lot of this match does show some of the mirror dynamics. It's quite a lot of there's a lot of things that can change within the Whimsicott matchup. I mean, we see a lot of uh, a lot of new variations of teams popping up. I think one of the changes we've seen recently is Poison Jab and Garchomp. There's also Dragonite coming up, and there's even like these new Frostlast teams that are popping up out of VR. So yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely expecting to see some of those Frostless teams as well. Maybe we'll dive into that team a little bit more during the end of the stream, but for now, let's just move on with this week. We saw
yeah,
Michael their best taking his second loss of the season, so I think he has a 1-2 start. So I think yeah, he used the VR winning team, and I think he posted on his Twitter about it as well. But yeah, I mean, close match, Michael versus Ari, both great players. But Ari came out on the winning end this once.
on top, yeah.
looking at the rest of the matchups, I see a lot of guard jump actually looking at it now here. Like seven or like
Yeah.
six guard jumps being used. A few of the teams, I think they try to copy us a little bit from last week where we used this team 6 times because apparently it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's a pretty good team.
I think this week
They
we
use
did it. We went from 7 Glamoras to 0. So
ah.
you see, we're not getting. Maybe we should use it again because we took our first L. So maybe we just need to spam Glimora again and we'll take a win next week. But we'll see.
Might be the
Um,
play. Might be the play.
yeah. Any other notable things you want to highlight here?
Mm, I think there were. I think I was another one of the players who I've actually won. I think is good to highlight. Is actually Max LJCR because he took a really dominant win over Candy, who I consider a really good player. So that is something that is very interesting, and we can potentially see Max end up as one of the best lower price players in this entire draft.
Yeah, he went for 3.5k. He got picked up very late at the draft. If we're looking at how the standings are looking, he is 2-0 now. Yeah, he's 2-0, so a great start for him from a 3k, being able to pick up 2 wins already, and also beating like Candy, who's a really good player, is really promising for the puppies. I think that's
Yeah,
generally a key to like success in tournaments like NPA, where you have your top players. They will get a few wins on the board like always, but and they play like especially before the season, the other like called top players if you wanna give it that tag. But I think the biggest differences you've seen from teams winning so far or doing very well or at least reaching playoffs is that they have like one or two like 3Ks that end up performing like as the best or one of the best on the team and therefore basically taking the team to that next level. So that's always interesting to see, and it's starting to look a bit like that Max is doing this for the puppies because he won twice, but I think both of his wins he played very well and won very convincingly.
yeah, 100%.
hmm Okay, let's move on to the last matchup of last week's, which was, I think, another dominant win from the Samurais over the Stars. If I'm just looking at the matchups, I are there any big upsets? I know I see Emilio took his first win, which honestly is something you probably expect. But I think the
I
biggest
think,
upset would be Dale beating Teo Time, but even that Dale was still a very good player, and I think they are off
yeah,
to a
but
good start.
yeah, I think you could potentially call it an upset, but what shocked me was the dominance of the win. I think there was in game two, Dill took zero damage
Yes, I
before
remember that. Yeah.
getting conceded. Yeah, that was a very dominant win, and it actually and this team actually shows I think probably version one of the team that Darts ended up bringing to a VR. So yeah, it's very interesting things going on here. I think the
Yeah.
scarf sleeve
hmm
is very cool.
Yeah, you see it pop up more on like ladder in game and like even in NPA because with Zard Y probably being the most used mega in the format or at least the top two or top three, if you can just click Scarf Stone X, there isn't much that's gonna outspeed you. You obviously Oko Zard. You Rock is offensively still a pretty solid type, and you set Spike. So if there's Zard in the back and it switches in, it takes 50% damage. So it's a pretty good counter, and I think it really helps you in the mirror if you play a Cleaver on a Zard team.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And looking at the other matchups, we see Luca taking another win, this time over Dicey, and actually starting off 3-0. So a really good start for Luca this NPA season. I think generally he always does pretty well, but I don't remember that for sure.
Yeah, he generally is a really good NPA player. This game though is has a very interesting game three. I think there was a scenario where I thought Luca lost the game because he missed two missed heat wave
Oh, yeah.
the on both the opposing Pokemon, and I was like, oh no, that I think he's done. But he ended up managing to come back in the game, so very well maneuvered by Luca to actually win that game.
Yeah, I think I saw that as well. I think after I saw that turn happen, I was like, oh, now he lost, and then I stopped watching the game, and then I opened it back up, and then I saw that he won, and I was like, how did this happen? But I guess
Yeah,
never give up. You can always still win.
for sure.
Yeah.
I think I think you can maybe consider XRN beating Slushy W an upset because Slushy has been on a very big tear in the IRL circuit, and he has been quite good in champions as well. So yeah, you can consider this an upset, but I think uh, I think he did run into a pretty difficult matchup where you had to play a lot of 50-50s. So that probably did contribute to him losing that one.
Yeah. Okay, then I think we'll take a quick look at like the stats how it's looking right now. Best Collegian, I think it dropped a little bit because I think wasn't it above 70% last week?
Yeah, it was. If I remember correctly, but I think maybe I think people are starting to really think about how they can beat Basque Legion and potentially by way of not using Basque Legion in the first place. So that's actually a slightly interesting development, but I do expect Basque Legion to still remain the best Pokemon in terms of usage.
Yeah,
It's just such a meta defining Pokemon. It's crazy.
yeah, it really is, and I think a little bit of the decline might be because I think you see, especially last week, I think you saw a lot more Black Glasses Gambit instead of the Chople Berry, where on a lot of teams, people opted to just drop low kick as well and just run like Black Glasses with Kowtow Sucker and Iron Head, and basically just say if I have to play versus another Gambit and they have low kick, I will just have tools on other mons to beat this, so I don't have to rely on like speed tier interactions, which is usually the determining factor of whose Gambit is gonna live, because first you proc the Chople and then you have to hit it again. And to kind of
Yeah,
minimize that, people say, okay, I'm just gonna make sure I'm better into Basque Legion with my Gambit. I can hit fairy mons like Sneasler, no, not Sneasler, Sylveon and Floette, which are two mons that are very commonly used, and then just use my other mons to beat the Gambit. Looking down the
mm,
list, I don't think there's any surprises, like Sarchomp still being the most used pair, and we still see this team being so dominant, like 26 times used, over 7 with the second place is still crazy to me.
yeah. That team has generally a solid matchup spread into a lot of other teams.
Yeah, it's like if you don't know what your opponent is gonna use and you feel comfortable with it, I think it's a pretty neutral option for you to, in most scenarios, always have like a shot to win regarding the matchup.
Yeah, it has a few matchups which is very difficult to win, but for the most part, it is a very neutral spread.
I agree. Okay, let's move on to week 4 then. So, yeah, we have the rollouts versus the blades, the cruisers versus the samurais, birds versus pixies, stars versus puppies, and the trailblazers versus the blizzards. So I guess we just go from top to bottom, and then we'll just we talk about the match real quick and about our predictions, who we think is gonna win. So take it away, Helios. Rollouts, blades.
Okay, let's take a look. Nash versus Huanfi. Okay, this is very interesting. I personally see Huanfi taking this, but no guarantees. Mega Umbreon versus Ari. I personally think Ari is going to take this. The Super Santi versus Mirai. Woo. Now that I
Ooh,
look at this,
spicy
I'm
one.
just predicting dates in every single match, right? Yes, I do predict Mirai to win this one. Animus versus Candy. Given that Animus just won VR, really quite hard to not say Animus, right?
hmm
But it is a match that could go either way. Both are very strong players.
Yeah, I think for the next
Code.
match, I believe Samu got subbed out for Taboo. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, right.
So it's
I
Code
think that
versus
actually
Taboo.
changes the dynamics of the matchup because I would consider Tabu a stronger player than a Code.
No, no, I mean Samu subbed out for
Yeah,
Taboo, not Code. So it's Code
yeah,
versus
Tabu. Yeah,
yeah.
I do think that Tabu should take this. Miiverse versus a Cake Rick. It's hard for it's hard for me to not say me versus well. So wow. I think I'm going. I think well, you wanted a hot. If you want a hot take, I'm predicting a Blade sweep.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Final score? Then I guess it's like 6-2, 7-1, if you're saying that.
Yeah, I think it should be. I think it should be a 6-2 or 7-1,
Mhm.
because it's looking. I think Blades fielded their def lineup of their best players, especially if Tabu's playing.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit more close because Juan Nash, I think, is closer than most people anticipate because Nash, I think he recently or like last weekend he made Worlds. He like got top 8 at South Korean Nats, and he's also off to a 2-0 start in NPA, so having a lot of good momentum. And Mega Umbreon has, I think he was. I think yeah, he beat Michael their best in week 2. I don't know if they played in week 3, but also off to a very solid start.
He
So
he
I
played.
think
He lost to John Who.
that's it. So he's 2-1. So definitely a close match. I'm predicting. I think Blades will take it, but I think it's more likely going to be a 5-3.
Mm, that's fair.
So we'll see how that end up. Knowing me with predictions, something to mention really quick. I did predictions last week of Blizzards versus rollouts, and I got them all wrong. I predicted every one wrong, but funnily enough, I did predict the final score correct, which was 4-4. Just literally every other way around. So if I'm saying your team will win, I'm sorry. Okay, moving on to
Well,
actually my team versus the Samurais. I'm not gonna say much about it, so I'm just gonna leave that up to you, Helios.
all right. Clippers versus Emilio. Interesting matchup, actually. I think as a start, I would say the Clippers had a stronger NPA start as compared to Emilio, but this is a really close match. Potentially the highlight of the week. Uh, but if you had to ask me, I would say that I would actually give a hot take here, and I think Clippers takes it.
All right.
Mm, apart from that, Akunki versus Dubious Bulb, also two very strong players. I personally would, I think, uh, I think Dubious slightly edges this out for me, but this is a match that easily could go either way. Same with Pedro versus Lewis. I think I did say on last week that I think Pedro is one of the sleeper picks in this NPA draft and could make a run for an MVP caliber season. So well, I gotta stick to my guns, right, and say Pedro. Hmm. With that in mind, we have Geo versus Adil. I do believe that they're quite close friends, right?
I would not know personally.
Hmm. But I think that I think that this is a match that I would personally favor Geo in. The next match is Kangoro versus XRN. For those who are not aware, Kangoro is Jeremy Code, who did quite well at a regional recently.
Yeah, he top 4 LA.
Hmm. I would say that he takes this. Finnebass versus Kotomi. I'm never gonna bet against Kotomi if I can. Well, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be. Sorry, Sven, but I think Apron's gonna take this. Um, Axier versus Melvin. Oh, interesting. I think Axier is a stronger player. Um, and I would probably have him taking this one. And now we have Trier versus Sliced Bread, who, if I'm not mistaken, Sliced Bread is Dorian Kang, right? I do think Trier takes
Mm,
this one.
so you're basically predicting, based on that, 6-2 for the Cruisers.
Yeah,
Oh,
probably.
we're
I
fucked. No,
think
we're
we're
fucked.
looking at strong.
We're
I'm
fucked.
sorry.
We're fucked.
I'm sorry, Sven.
Yeah, it's okay. Let's move on as fast as
Well,
possible.
you
Birds
suspect.
versus Pixies. Looking at the matchups, Araku Multiboy, Blaze Darch, Stay Madmaster, Kakunaka versus Terran, Renzo Navarro versus Luis Marco, Pipa versus Murillo, Orlando Luna versus Joshua and Lugia, and Commander versus Paul Chua. Hmm, how would I predict this? If I'm just looking at the matchups, I'm just doing like a quick calculation in my head right now. I think that I think it's gonna be a tie. Birds versus Pixies. Yeah.
I don't think I disagree with you. Personally, I do think Areku has been having a really good run in NPA so far. He is 3-0 and he has been playing very well in the
Yes.
sets. Um, I think he would probably take it over Multi Boy. Um, Blaze versus Darts. Well, how can I? It's difficult to bet against Chris Han here, right? I would say that he on paper he seems like a stronger player. But I mean, matchups can go either way, and we do not know what will happen. But I do take Chris as the advantageous player here. Steka versus Mad Master. Hmm. I think Steka has also been a very has is one of these players who has really started getting a real pop off lately, and I would say that he is stronger than Mad Master at the moment. Kakunaka versus Aura Rayquaza, I would say Aura Rayquaza is the winner here. Pro T versus Sylveon use Calm Mind. Okay. I think this one really is up to. I think this match is a matter of stubbornness actually, because Lewis is famously a one trick player. So ultimately, it's up to whether he is willing to swap teams or he is going to get potentially counter teamed in this aspect. So that's probably one of the things that you need to think about um, when preparing for a Lewis. Pipa Goro versus Mario. Ooh. I think that Pipa is a stronger player, but this is one of the closer matches. Orlando versus Yoshi and Lugia is another close, it's a close one as well. But I would say that Orlando is a stronger player in this case. And finally, we have Commander versus Paltroa. Ooh, I do believe that Paltroa is not having a great season at the moment, but I
Yeah, that
will say I think that he should take this one.
I would agree with you there. Yeah, we'll talk about it after we done the predictions of this week. It's something we'll come back on like some top players and how they're performing so far this season. Awesome. Is
Yeah,
this Commander's first week playing this season? I'm not sure.
I
No,
think he's
okay,
played
so
once.
I think he played
Oh
week
yeah.
one then, probably. Okay, I thought you might have been played first. Okay, and then we go to the Stars versus the Puppies. I think. Oh yeah, I see a banger match already. Joe UX9 versus Michael their best. I think that's gonna be a banger.
Oh, oh, that's a really good match for sure.
Yeah, and also I think Teo
Yeah,
Time versus
DP
Sempra is
versus
another very
Tempera.
good match. Gahaku
Yeah,
Fede Campo.
it's a really good match.
hmm As for the predictions, I think that. Ooh, here you say.
Oh, this is a
I'm
close one as well.
I'm predicting a tie again. I think they're gonna tie.
I think I agree. It's quite hard to say that. It's quite hard to say that. To see one team go ahead in this matchup, but well, it's Pokemon.
Anything can happen.
It anything can happen. Yeah.
We have Rock Slide, so.
Oh yes. I would probably if I more detailed predictions, I think on first glance I would probably say Fede should beat Kahaku. Arcane should beat Breed. Joe versus MDB is not is something that I'm really unsure about.
I don't know
So
either. I'm not sure.
yeah, I think it's going to be down to matchup.
hmm
In this case, Luca versus Max LJCR. Ooh, this is also a good match actually.
Now you say it, yeah, because two great players, but also two players that have undefeated records so far. So we
Yeah,
is Luca gonna be 4-0 or is Max gonna be 3-0? It's gonna be good. Also looking ahead in the future weeks, potentially if you want to have an MVP run, this is probably one you definitely have to win if you're because you're playing
yeah,
against a
one
player who's
hundred
also
percent.
undefeated.
I do think that Luca should. I do think Luca takes this, but really good match. Bite versus Dim the Sim. I think Dim is the stronger player, but I do think Dim is a stronger player here. Pizza Greedent. I think this is Killan Van
Yeah,
Severen
yeah, yes.
against Rajan Bal. I think that Killan is a stronger player at the moment. Um, Dark York versus a William Brown. Ooh, this is a close match as well, but I do think that a William Brown probably takes this one. And finally we have Didi versus Sempra, which I think Sempra takes this.
Yeah, I think a lot of these matches are so close and so hard to call.
Yeah,
So
that's it's a really a lot of great matchups in this
yeah,
specific matchup. I I do not see anyone going. I do not see one team going either way, uh, unless we see really one-sided matchups or one-sided hacks.
yeah. I honestly think from the 4 weeks we have so far, this is probably the hardest matchup to predict because I think we've not seen a week where everyone who's facing each other is so close. Might just be our judgment. We might be completely wrong, but that's at least what we think about it. Then moving on to our
Yeah,
final match of the week is the Trailblazers versus the Blizzards. So
well,
I
I
guess I'll
like
do the talking here.
yeah.
Yeah, looking at the matchups here, I'm just gonna do one by one predictions as well. I think Kyogre SG take this over Itchak. I just think Kyogre SG is incredibly skilled. Um, it's very hard for me to bet against him. Chitshot versus Shuli. I believe Shuli is 2 and 0, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I still would predict Chitshot to beat him. Then John Hu versus this is Ruben Gianzini, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Ruben Gianzini. Ooh, honestly, after I've seen John Yu play twice with his teams, I just want to see him win with another WAC team. So I'm predicting John Yu there. Here we have um Baby Desu. We have Mattia versus Agati. I think Agati will take this one. I think Agati isn't he 0-2 or 0-3?
He's 0-2, yes.
Yeah, so tough start for him, but I have a feeling he's gonna take his first win of the season here. Then we have Fives versus Jono. This is hard to call. This is a close one, but I'm probably leaning Fives because I think, as we talked about before, Fives he has limited availability. So if he's able to play, that probably means he has time to prepare this week. So I would probably have to give him the edge on this one. And then we have another match which I honestly expect to be like in the top four, but somehow it's not. Changfu versus Gramgas. Ooh, oh, I genuinely don't know. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
use.
it's a top.
Oh, I want to do heads or tails, but I don't know. Um,
Well, I think it's going to depend a lot on matchup
yeah,
in this one.
probably. I've been teammates with both before as well, but I'm 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 giving the edge to Gramgus because he was on my team when we won NPA. So I have to make a
Yeah, fair.
judgment somehow. I don't know. This one could go anyway. I'm not sure about my pick here. Then we have Sela versus Leunam. Ooh, I would probably back Sela because I also think they had some limited availability. Could be wrong about that. So same case with Chengfu. If they're able to play, I would probably give them the edge from what I've seen from both players so far. And then we have Red Snorlax versus MoMA. This has to be a rigged matchup, right?
Yeah, this one was rigged
Yeah.
because for context, MoMA is back in China this week, so he has a little bit more. He has limited availability, so he preferred to play against someone who he is in the same time zone with, so that it is easier for him to schedule.
Yeah, makes sense. Because I was like, there's no way MoMA is like 2 and 1 or 3 and 0.
He is 3-0, yes.
3 and 0, there's no way he's in the bottom. He's on the bottom here. Couldn't be the case. So yeah,
Yeah.
those are the predictions for this week. Before we wrap it out, there's two quick things I want to talk about. First, if I want to look at like the bottom of the sheet here, because I think something we've seen this season is that we've seen quite a lot of players of like that are expensive having like a rougher start. Like Gramgus being 16k 0-3, Sempra being 0-2, Taboo being 0-2. Same with Avatar Fede. And I even believe if we go up, yeah, even Agadi and Paul Chua both being 0-2. What do you think is the reason for that, Helios? That we see quite a lot of these top players struggling at the start of the season?
I think it's hard for me to say actually because when I watch some of these matchups, I think a lot of these top players are actually playing fine. So it's not really a it's not an issue in terms of a play, but I would say that probably that luck probably plays a big factor in some of these matches. Well, sometimes, I mean, although it's statistically improbable, it is certainly possible that some of these players do get locked out in more than a match, and they of course need to start off with playing some really strong players. Yeah, so maybe as their elo goes lower, they get paired up with easier opponents, and that's where we see their matchups start to improve.
All right. Yeah, we already talked about the top. I don't think we have to talk about that again. So before we wrap this up, I think we're going to finish under 1 hour, so that's good. I have a few more questions for you, Helios. I also asked this
Yeah.
to Kunal when I was on the broadcast on week two. Who do you think is going to finish first and last this season? So who's winning NPA and who's going to finish 10th?
Well, I'm not going to talk about blizzards in I will not rank my team even if some individuals may think that we may end up last in at this rate. Right now, I personally do think that the Stars will probably end up last. Uh, and in my opinion, the first place is quite hard to call. I would still I think I'm going to stick to my guns and say Cruisers will end up first in regular season.
Yeah, we're not beating these allegations. We're losing out. We're losing out. There's no hope for us anymore. Back it up.
Well, unlucky.
Yeah. So then, last question. Same,
Yeah.
same sort of question. First of all, who do you think is gonna end up as the MVP? So with the best record, ELO, whatever the criteria is, I don't even know.
Let me take a look at the sheet to see
This is what
who I
it's.
think. All right. I think that the MVP quite hard to call, but I think that but if you ask me right now, I think a lot of some of these players are very momentum based. So I would say that off pure instinct, I think Mirai may be the player who may be the player who ends up becoming the MVP.
All right, interesting.
Really strong start.
Yeah, it's hard for me to call. I don't even know who I'd pick. And then another question that's probably never asked before, but we're role modeling this, so we can do whatever we want. Who do you think is
Yeah.
gonna end up with the worst record this season? This is how the bottom is looking now. You
Ooh.
bring the spice, bring the spice, make yourself an enemy right now.
Okay. Well, okay. Let's take a look at who is the who are the bottom performers right now. Well, I mean again, I'm not going to mention a Blizzard, even though it very well might be. Uh, if you had me like say who might end up as the worst record, I would probably throw I would probably throw hmm I would probably say iMaggie right now.
All right. And I think with that, we've talked about everything. No structure. We did it probably under an hour, so I think we did well regardless. So I want to thank everyone from watching. Um, I don't know if you're happy if Kunal was here, if he wasn't here. So I don't know how you're gonna like it next week when he's back. But thank you all for watching, and you'll see probably not me and Helios next week, but you'll see Kunal again. Take care, everyone.